everybody, Allie and I want to welcome you back to another video here. I got a knife done that I want to talk about in this video, but before I do, I had another video where I showed a couple thrift store knives, and here's a picture of one of them when I first got it. Yeah, so that's this knife right here. It was, as you can see in the pictures, it was missing a bolster, and it says Jacobs on the handle. It's a half tang stainless steel. It made sometime in the 50s. This was made, and I just really liked the style of this knife, but it didn't feel very good without that bolster. And I casted this. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know I was interested in pewter casting, and so I did a Scottish ski and do knife where I casted a bolster on it, and that was my first attempt. This was actually my second attempt, and it came out a lot better. Still not perfect, but I'm real happy with the way this came out, and it is so nicely balanced now. It has such a good feel. I mean, I love this blade. In the one picture you can see it was pretty scored up, and it still has some. I wasn't able to get all of it out, where somebody used a side grinder on it or whatever they did to sharpen it, and kind of boogered up the blade quite a bit. But I was able to get most of that out, and yeah, so I just wanted to show you the completed project. I think I'm going to make a sheath for this. This would make an excellent camp knife, you know, or a hunting knife. You could skin with it, all kinds of stuff. You know, it's just a real good feeling blade. So I wanted to show you that real quick. Got that. I think it was 6 months or a year ago, I came across a knife called the Goodell Star Hunter, and upon a little research on it, that knife was made. That style of knife was made in the late 1800s. A guy by the name of David Goodell started the Goodell Company in Antrim, New Hampshire in 1875. And I don't know if he was related to the Goodell Pratt Company. That's a very complicated history of all the Goodell family members that branched off and went off and did their own thing, making all those various tools back then. He may have been related to them, I'm not sure, but he was based in Antrim, New Hampshire, and he was a very large employer back then, making cutlery products. And he actually got a patent on an apple peeler, and I guess they're highly collectible now. He sold like hundreds of thousands of these apple peelers, but by 1904 he had like 1,300 different styles of cutlery. And so he's a big manufacturer. And I came across this knife right here. Yeah, and that's the Goodell Star Hunter, and it caught my eye, and I just fell in love with it. And you know, they're very, very hard to find. You'd think they sold so many of them, there'd be a lot of them around still, but I guess they're in people's collections, and they've been lost and broken and that kind of thing over the years. Yeah, so here's an ad from an 1899 catalog right here. Yeah, so you see that Goodell Star Hunter was in that ad, and in 1899 they were selling for $5.25 a dozen. And the sheaths that went with them, down at the bottom of the picture, there's leather sheaths you could get, and yeah, they were $2.25 a dozen back then. But then here's an ad from 1920. Yeah, as you can see in that ad, which was what, 21 years later, they still had the Goodell Star Hunter knife available, but the price jumped up to $8 per dozen, and that page didn't show any sheaths. So, you know, I like to make things, and so I set off to make a Goodell Star Hunter. Well, my version of a Goodell Star Hunter. I didn't want to copy it, you know. But I should also mention the New Hampshire mill in Antrim is now on the National Historic Registry of Places. And here's a quick shot of the mill. Yeah, so neat little bit of history there. So I made a sheath to replicate the picture of the 1899 ad. Showing the leather sheath. I probably would have made a different style sheath, but I wanted to kind of, you know, see if I could make one that, and it's kind of a very simple design, but here it is. So I'll start with the sheath. I'll show you because it's real basic, like I said. In the picture, there's some kind of something or other branded or embossed into the leather, but I can't really make it out in that picture. So I had this eagle stamp, so I just used that in it, and I took my time stitching on this one, and so it came out pretty decent. I did brand it on the back with one of my logos, but yeah, it's just a real simple belt sheath. And while I'm talking about it, the stitching, I rarely give any advice, but if there's any of you out there watching that would like to have any tips and stuff, just let me know down in the comments. But I will say that I've been stitching leather sheaths for going on 40 years now, and I use a wax coated sail twine, and here it is. Right here is a roll of it in natural color, and then here's a roll of it in black. Now I've gone through, this roll here is probably maybe a third gone. It started off a lot bigger. I've gone through an entire roll of this, and then what's left on this one, and an entire roll of black, and that's what's left of this one. So if that's indicative of how many sheaths I've stitched up over the years. And yeah, this sheath is brand new. I just made it this morning. You can see the stitching, and then I just had this out for a previous video, but this is what this stitching will look like in about 35 years of hard use. It's the same stuff, and that's 35 years later. So it holds up really well. Oh, and yeah, when you're stitching, I do the typical saddle stitch with 2 needles. And when I first started off, I was wasting a lot because I could never judge how long. But over the years, I kind of discovered that if you go measure the length of your stitching, you measure the length of your stitching, and it's going to vary on the thickness of the leather you're stitching, but I go 3.5 to 4 times that length. So if you were to stretch that out and measure it, and I'll just, you know, I don't measure, but I just kind of roughly pull it off the spool, and I'll go 3.5 times, and then you have very, very little. Like after I got this done, I had 2 pieces that long left over, so very little waste. Anyway, that's a little tip. Now the knife, I started off, I did make this out of stainless steel, but yeah, it has this swedge, I'm going to call it, ground on just one side of the blade. It seems like the examples I saw, they had that. Not quite sure the purpose, but I thought it looked pretty cool, so I did replicate that on the blade and the same general blade shape. This is all cast pewter, and this is cast pewter in here. Just a little design I came up with and cast into the wood. I did put a thong hole on mine So the handle is two different types of wood. On the outside it's cherry, and then the inner layer is mahogany. And then I have some red spacer material in there. And yeah, my casting wasn't perfect. This is where, so I wrapped a piece of paper around and taped it when I casted it, and my paper was kind of folded inside, so I left that little divot right there, but I don't care. It's a, you know, I kind of wanted to make it look old anyway, and then I've got a little void in my casting there, but the feel of this knife is great. It sports a 6-inch blade, which is what the original Goodell Star Hunter had a 6-inch blade, and of course it would have been made out of high carbon steel back then, but I work primarily with stainless steels. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to make a video showing you my latest hunting knife I made, and I'm still working on a lot of other knives. I've got a couple in the works right now for the Work Knives of the World series, and once I get those finished up and get some videos made on those, I'll upload them to those folks that like to follow those videos. But yeah, the feel of this, actually, this is a little bit heavier, and I think if I was to do this one again, I'd probably make the handle a little bit shorter, but although it does have a nice feel, and I thought, you know, for a 6-inch blade, you know, that length handle kind of looks pretty good. But yeah, I'm still practicing on this pewter casting thing, and I could spend more time, you know, buffing it out, and it gets real shiny. It'll eventually get a patina on it. It won't stay that way, but it's fun to work with, and I love how it helps balance out the knife by having that extra weight right there on the bolster. You know, I've made bolsters out of brass and aluminum and stag and you name it, but yeah, having that, using a pewter is a new thing for me, and I'm enjoying that. So anyway, that's my replica of a Goodell Star Hunter, my version of a Goodell Star Hunter, because it's not my budget to hunt around and find one, and I wanted one, so I made one. Anyway, this is Dave. I appreciate y'all watching. Come on back for the next one. We'll see you.